Richmond is a major city in the East Bay Area of the San Francisco Bay Area, just a few miles north of Berkeley and Oakland.
Richmond is a really diverse city. Primarily, it is Black, Latino, white, Asian, and Native American people. So there's all kinds of people in Richmond. It's probably, I think, one of the most diverse cities in the Bay Area.
But it's also historically been a blue-collar, working-class kind of town with pockets of affluence and pockets of poverty. But the shadow that's always loomed over Richmond is the Chevron refinery and the ancillary chemical industries that supply it and surround it. And the Chevron refinery has not been a very good neighbor historically. It only employs about 6% of its workforce are Richmond residents, so most of the money from salaries leaves the community.
And you cannot miss it if you drive 580 from Richmond to Center Fair, which is right there next to your window.
I happened to have been up in my apartment with an associate, a friend of mine, Celine Bay, and I. We were just sitting around discussing some of the things in our community. Sitting there, we just looking at TV was on, and all of a sudden I heard this boom, boom, and I couldn't figure out what's going on. So I got up and I went looking out the window. Fire was just going up in the air, and it wasn't the usual flaring that I see from the smokestacks. And about that time, Brother Bay, when he came running out, he thought that I'd fell or something. He didn't know what was wrong. And that's when we discovered, looking out the window, that Chevron was on fire.
Richmond, California, where over 900 people have sought medical treatment at local hospitals following a massive fire at a Chevron oil refinery. A series of blasts erupted early Monday evening, sparking the blazing fires that sent large plumes of smoke into the sky. Tens of thousands of residents were ordered to stay in their homes with the windows and doors closed to avoid breathing in hazardous fumes.
My first reaction was to call all my neighbors, people I knew, and people in El Cerrito were saying, yeah, but we're in El Cerrito. I go, you don't understand. Depending on which way the wind's blowing, those toxins can blow right up through these hills.
I'm Greg Karras. I'm a senior scientist with Communities for a Better Environment. Right now we're looking at the part of Richmond, California, that is nearest to the largest oil refinery in Northern California, the Chevron Richmond refinery. This is the part of Richmond that is the most industrialized, and right next to it, the part of Richmond that is the lowest income and the most people in poverty, the most highest concentration of people of color. It's the largest by far in Northern California.
We get dumped on by every piece of garbage that you want to think of. Chevron is a major polluter, but then we have all of the diesel trucks coming through here. They come through here and they just dump all of their poison on us in the way of pollution. We've got the trains, which is the same thing. We have all types of problems with the trains coming through. After this fire, we can't eat any of the fruits and vegetables in the garden right outside here. We can't eat any of the pears. We can't eat any of the plums. We can't eat any of the grapes or any of the other vegetables in our raised vegetable gardens out here. We can't eat any of this stuff.
Asthma, particularly among very young children. There's more and more cases of asthma, starting with when children are very, very young. And the cases are becoming much more serious.
Cancers, and even people who complain of like headaches, for example, nosebleeds, skin rashes. So there's both the chronic and the acute type of illnesses that people, feel and have expressed as a result of living by the refinery.
We were fairly close to the Richmond refinery. We were within 2 miles of the refinery. It was due west of us. I could actually see the flaring stacks if I sat on the stoop of my house. And that's how I knew Chevron flared regularly at 1 in the morning rather than at high noon so that people wouldn't see. I was asked to speak many times for the media and for special conferences that were filmed because they wanted to hear my personal story. But as soon as I started to talk about, I also believe that there is a connection, an environmental toxic connection to my thyroid disease and my breast cancer, they would cut me off. The more I started talking about what I believed as the political and environmental connections, the less the media and the system wanted to hear from me.
This refinery alone emits thousands of different chemicals. Most of those have not been studied at all for their potential toxicity. Some of them have been studied a little bit, not adequately to really know. And then there's, a few dozen that we know they emit and we know cause cancer and other serious problems. So examples of those would be toxic hydrocarbon gases. Benzene, for example, causes leukemia, major pollutant from refineries. Hydrocarbons in general, there's a whole range of toxic ones like benzene. There are others that form smog, which causes breathing difficulty. Well, you know what smog is.
They come here and they process it, and we have to breathe it. It's nothing right about this. This is an unjust thing. This isn't moral, that they should put money before people.
I worked on the Chevron Dirty Crude refinery expansion campaign, and in the very beginning of that campaign, Chevron was going to different communities within Richmond, and specifically community groups, pitching a project that they said was only upgrades to the refinery. So pretty much they were saying, yeah, the refinery's over 100 years old, but what this project will do is modernize it. There'll be no emissions. As a matter of fact, there'll be less pollution. And we were actually able to prove, not only with the scientists, but even in the courts, that they were actually lying, that actually what Chevron was trying to do is expand their refinery or retool it to be able to start processing dirtier, heavier crude. That crude such as the Alberta tar sands, which is what it sounds like. It's tar. It's not exactly, the fine, medium light crudes that normally refineries would refine to create gasoline. That's been documented. That's a documented lie.
Turned out one of the really big issues with refinery pollution starts with the basics. What type of material is being processed? You know this if you've ever had a diesel car. You don't want to put gasoline in it. You don't want to put diesel into your gasoline car. What happens? You do that, it smokes a lot, then it breaks down more. Well, same with refineries. They get dirtier when you put a dirtier or heavier, more contaminated type of feedstock into them. They pollute more and they break down more often. They have spills, fires, and explosions like the one that just happened a couple months ago that sent 15,000 people to the hospital and injured 6 workers.
This fight with Chevron is a much more difficult fight because they fight behind suits and 3-piece suits and ties. These people have lawyers to do their dirty fighting for them, and my people don't have the money nor the lawyers.
One thing that's interesting about Chevron is they pour a lot of money into making themselves look good in the community. So they've handed out silly things like these puppets, for example, And I thought these two characters were interesting. I call this the Chevron dirty dog, and then the Chevron flare dragon, because one issue with the refinery is that they're always flaring. Chevron water, and then it says human energy at the bottom, which, this is actually kind of disgusting because Chevron, pollutes a lot of water, and they use a lot of water to cool the refinery, and then they dump a lot of the wastewater back into the bay. So they're a huge polluter of not only the air but our water. They used to refer to the city council in Richmond as Chevron headquarters, and it was because Chevron funded all the local politicians in Richmond in past. And so, if you're a candidate for Chevron, you receive all this money, of course you're going to allow Chevron to do whatever they want, because you're not about to bite the hand that feeds. Very recently, the progressive community in Richmond has been very successful in getting local community members who are outspoken against Chevron to win the local elections and hold seats in the city council and the mayor seat. And because they've been so successful, that is why Chevron has been more criticized in the community. And also, they're not able to just get permits for anything they want now.
They have made amazing changes, not only for Richmond. That's what people don't realize, is they have created changes that have repercussions to the entire Bay Area and many more communities. And that's what the public has to understand. It's not just poor Richmond. What they're doing there is going to change your life too. It involves all of us. We're all part of the same web, and that's what I think our society is now finally getting, that we're all connected and we all have to help each other out.
There is no expansion and refining of the tar sands at Richmond to date. It's still going to be a battle. Yeah, they're going to try again. They're going to wait for people to forget, people to get tired, but we have to keep going.
You think they have your interests at heart? Come on. We are going to need to fight this. And we're going to need to fight it for the good stuff, for the jobs. Repower that refinery with solar. Give us the jobs here now.
We have to out-organize them. We have to get the word out to the everyday people, especially the everyday voters, because it's only through controlling the city council can we control the regulatory process and get some accountability.
I think we are smarter. Okay. I think the community understand that we need to be together in one community. There might be few people might not understand that, but I think majority of the Richmond, we understand we need to be one community. I think we work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's come in trying to figure out a way that we can live together. Let us come in with good faith. Let us come honestly with one another. Let us come and be truthful. And we'll be able to get along.